On the 8th Sunday of the season, we call to mind the Values and Covenants section of the proposed revision of the Unitarian Universalist bylaws, which says, as Unitarian Universalists, we covenant congregation to congregation and through our association to support and assist one another in our ministries. We draw from our heritages of freedom, reason, hope, and courage, building on the foundation of love.
If you'd please stand if you like and join me in singing 194, Faith is a Forest. Faith is a forest in which doubts play and hide. Insight can hear the still small voice deep inside. Web of life, may this thread I weave, strength and commitment to all I believe. Vision be my guide as I seek my way. Lead me into this tender day. Speak through me in all I do and say. Seeds of both meek and strong are scattered in air. Dignity shines undimmed by bigotry's glare. Web of life, may this thread I weave, mingle completeness to all I believe. Justice be my guide as I seek my way. Lead me into this tender day. Speak through me in all I do and say. Fortune and famine ride the swift winds of chance. Sorrow and pleasure seem united in dance. Web of life, may this thread I weave, mingle compassion with all I believe. Mercy be my guide as I seek my way. Lead me into this tender day. Speak through me in all I do and say.
Good morning. I'm Heidi Levine, she, her, hers, and I'm your celebrant this morning.
And I'm the Reverend Meredith Garmon, Zir, or he, him, interim minister.
Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Des Moines. Our building is located on land that has been home to various peoples in the past 12,000 years, including at the beginning of European encroachment, the Iowa, Sauk, and Meskwaki. These lands were also once home to the dire wolf, which went extinct 10,000 years ago. As we enter this space, the ghosts of humans and other animals past are among us. Let us recommit to understanding the history of the land it occupies, and to owning our part in the work of education, reparation, and healing for all species.
Our purpose is to associate ourselves together for the study and practice of morality and religion as interpreted by the growing thought and noblest lives of humanity, hoping thereby to prove helpful one to another and to promote truth, righteousness, and love in the world.
Our bond of union is reiterated in our mission to grow ethically and spiritually, serve justly, and love radically.
It's a blessing you were born. It matters what you do. Your experience of the divine is true, and you don't have to go it alone.
Today is the 8th Sunday of winter. The moon was new on Friday and is now waxing crescent. On the Christian liturgical calendar, today is the last of 6 Sundays of ordinary time between Epiphany and Lent, which begins this Wednesday on Ash Wednesday. That means this Tuesday will be Shrove Tuesday, also known as Mardi Gras. Parades,
You just go dead?
Yep.
Okay.
On, though the clump up. Go in 20 and in 5-9.
46 days, but
Interesting about that. Sundays don't count of Lent. From Wednesday to Easter Sunday, there are 30 non-Sunday days in all.
so whatever I want on Sundays.
Well, no one around here is going to mind. But the traditional was that you give up luxuries on Sunday anyway, just it's Sunday. So Lent 40 additional days of foregoing some.
A special welcome to our visitors. If you're here with children, feel free to come seated with you or take advantage of our play area in the back. New members are invited to a UU Curiosity conversation on the first Sunday of every month, and the next one is today, right after the service. No, it was last week. Sorry, it is not the first Sunday of the month. Yes, the next one will be the first Sunday of March. Thank you. Finally, please make sure that your phones and mics are muted throughout this.
Connection circles are small circles, are groups that to explore the monthly theme and build relationship. It's a key that we live out our mission to grow ethically and spiritually. So if you're in one, please do sign up and become part of a. Our theme for the month of February is equity. Issues of connecting are available just outside the doors. We begin with the lighting of our chalice.
Please say with me the chalice lighting words which can be found in your order of service. Today, we come together as a community of faith, joyful and free, drawing strength from each other to spark the flame of truth and ignite the fire of commitment to social justice, equity, and peace. Join now in our sung invocation. Words are in your order of service.
I think you'll know this tune. From all that dwell below the skies, let songs of hope and faith arise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung through every land.
Good morning. My name is Birch Spick. My pronouns are they, them, and theirs, and I am your faith formation and congregational life coordinator. Thank you for joining us today. Today's story, as we continue exploring the theme of equity this month, is about Fanny Barrier Williams, who often encountered spaces that did not welcome her. And what she did instead was create spaces that welcome everyone. So as we talk about equity and how it is really the practice of honoring everyone's worth and dignity, let's think about how Fanny did that, and let's think about that in our lives as well. Hearts should be too large for 150
Back when were new.
and cars had not yet been in.
Back when women wore skirts,
Wore hats.
lived in
Is in between Buffalo and Rochester, about 10 miles from the shore of Lake Ontario.
Fanny lived there with her older brother George and her sister Ella and their parents.
The week, Fanny, George, and Ella would
And get dressed
and breakfast,
and go to school,
and in the afternoon would play in the woods
or maybe go sledding in the snow with their friends,
and do chores
eat dinner,
and go to bed. Do their homework
and
first.
go to bed.
On Sundays, the whole Barrier family went to church.
Fanny's father was a deacon, a leader at the church. Her mother taught Bible school. When Fanny was old enough, she played the piano while people sang hymns.
She sang too, and painted pictures.
Maybe some of you like to do those things too.
Fanny's life might sound a lot like yours, even if she did wear long skirts instead of jeans,
And she used kerosene lamps instead of electric lights.
and cooked food on a wood stove instead of a microwave.
Go
Prod- and New York,
and that people's skin were better than people with dark skin.
Fanny Barrier had dark skin.
When she was a teenager, she went to Boston to study music.
Some of the audience there said, "Want her here." And if we are
The school to leave.
so, in DC, to study painting.
Hide behind us, one could see her.
If the others you're here, told Fanny, they want you to leave, just like the people in Boston did.
Over and over again, all through life, Fanny was told she wasn't wanted
And couldn't belong.
because she had.
When she was 40 years old and living in the city of Chicago, some women invited her to join a women's club.
But other women in the club don't want her here, so she can't. Days.
The people in about this year
Voted to in.
enjoyed
Now, like that.
when people belong.
People don't want.
Some days, angry about it.
Some she felt sad.
Most days, Fanny had no time to feel angry
Sad.
because she was busy making group own.
Fanny knew how much it hurts to be left out.
And she knew it was easier
And more fun.
to get things done together with others than by yourself.
She and her spouse, the lawyer Williams, joined Knowles Unitarian Church in Chicago.
They helped hospital where everyone welcome.
No matter the color of their skin.
They created a group to see art and music there.
Fanny Barrier Williams helped start a home for girls in Chicago.
And she started a center where people could live together.
No matter the color of their skin.
She was part of the group that started the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the NAACP.
Along with Frederick Douglass,
Ida B. Wells Barnett,
Francis Watkins Harper,
and W.E.B. Du Bois.
Fanny all
Nay.
chance to vote.
Back then, remember, people thought that we're better than women.
Women couldn't own property or have a bank account in elections.
In 1920, when Fanny was 60 years old, women were allowed to.
And about 50 years after that, people started letting everyone vote,
And everyone belonged to.
no matter the color of their skin.
Fanny Barrier, unfortunately, did not live to see it.
She didn't live long enough to see the United States of America become a place where most of the people believe that everyone is equal.
But she did make that happen in so many ways.
When some groups kept people out,
Barrier Williams groups that let everyone in.
when the laws of our country said she and thousands of others couldn't belong because of the color of their skin,
Or the church they went.
or because they were girls and boys,
Fanny Barrier Williams worked to change laws so that everyone belong,
and would belong.
no matter what. Thank you for listening to this story. We'll now sing the children out to their classroom downstairs with the children's benediction printed in your order of service. Go in joy, go in peace to greet the day. With open hearts embrace life's wonder. We will guide
Another
you,
person I talked to.
we will love you on your way.
I said, he said, well, I didn't think it was too bad or something. I said,
Some of you are aware
I was
that we
on
have
Zoom.
an Afghan family staying in our building now. And to tell us something about that, Jennifer Block.
looked and I said, well, it has to be, it's you.
Block and tell us about the Ethiopian family.
Good morning.
Who?
Jennifer Block.
Oh, well, good.
It's lovingly new to tell you they are 5 sons and a daughter. Studied business college and is based organization in Afghanistan with administrative duties. Because his employer in the US, he and his family became targets of the Taliban. This family, like many other Afghan families, went into hiding. I work for a global law firm, and our pro team was approached by the father's employer to help its employees find safety in the US. I started working with this family in April of 2022. The immigration process was a long and winding road. Despite fear, this family found themselves and daily. Nearly every message to me started, "Dear Jennifer, I hope you are well." When the immigration case was finally gaining momentum, I ended up needing surgery, and this was just about a month ago. Because I knew this family was understandably very anxious about their case, I told them I would be having surgery and unable to respond to messages for a little bit. But I reminded him that I have a really good team and that they would be helping to monitor their case while I was out. Fast forward to the morning of my surgery. I'm sitting in the waiting room waiting to get called back and to get the IV going and all that fun stuff. And I received a message. This father, whose time zone was 11 hours ahead of mine, sent me a message saying that he and his whole family were praying that I would be healthy very soon. Immediately, I received another message from him. It was a picture of his 7 beautiful children, all lined up on their prayer rugs in prayer for my health. As you can imagine, I was overjoyed to meet this family at the Des Moines airport at midnight on Thursday, not even 3 days ago. I've spent time with them every day, and it has really been, it's really been a blessing. Sadly, the United States no longer gives resettlement benefits to Afghans arriving now, which includes this family. The father's documents are processing a little more slowly, but I am hopeful that we will get him here soon. Until he arrives and gets work authorization, the family who has already been through so much trauma will have no income. The father had to borrow about $20,000 to pay the various fees and airfare just to get his family out. When his paperwork catches up, he too will incur additional related exit expenses. Because they have no rental history here, they'll likely be expected to pay 6 months of rent up front when we can find a home to house this family of 9. This is critical. We need an address so we can get these kids into school where they desperately want to go. This church has, very graciously set up a special fund to help this family, and they're already so incredibly grateful for everything that your organization has done. So on behalf of this family, I thank you for your generosity, and I'll be around after the service if anyone wants to talk some more or has any questions. Thank you so much.
I believe we have a message from Q-Tag now. Is that right?
Good morning. Sorry for that delay. Some seats are higher than others, and that was a little bit lower than I expected. My name is Janice Hawkins, and my pronouns are she and her. And this year, February 7th, marked the observance of National Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day. The observance began in 1999 to acknowledge the disproportionate rate of HIV among Black Americans. HIV affects people of all races, ethnicities, and genders, sexual orientations, ages, and location. However, the impact on the Black communities in the US is disproportionately high. Black people comprise 14% of the US population, yet in 2021, Black Americans represented 40% of the new HIV diagnoses and 40% of those living with HIV. The effects of racism in our country continue to create social and structural barriers to health care. Black Americans face discrimination, lack of health insurance, and economic constraints that limit their access to necessary care. These factors, plus medical mistrust, often due to a lack of culturally competent services, create barriers to preventative care and treatment. The theme for this year's National Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day is Engage, Educate, Empower, uniting to end the HIV/AIDS in Black communities. To engage means using outreach programs and community partnerships to promote HIV testing. And it means to have more open conversations about HIV/AIDS. To educate means to share the latest treatments, medication, and research, and to dispel myths about HIV/AIDS that lead to stigma and discrimination. To empower means sharing success stories and engaging support systems, policy change, and advocacy for better access to HIV prevention and treatment. Though there is progress in reducing the incidence of HIV in the Black community over the years, there's obviously more work to be done. So what can you do? Well, you can understand the reasons behind the disproportionate impact of HIV on Black communities. You can get informed about the basic facts of HIV, prevention, diagnosis, and treatment. You can initiate open conversations about HIV/AIDS to reduce the stigma, dispel myths, and share facts. Encourage friends and family to get tested. Support local initiatives to promote HIV/AIDS awareness, testing, and support. As we commemorate the 2024 National Black HIV/AIDS Awareness Day, let it serve as a call to action to unite and fight against the disproportionate impact of HIV on the Black community. Let us strive for a future where equitable access to prevention and treatment is a reality. And in a little while, we invite you to join us at brunch this morning. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Ann Mowry, a member of the pastoral care team, and my pronouns are she and her. We are a community of memory and hope, a community of hands and hearts. We gather to share our laughter and our tears and to bear witness to one another as we journey through sorrows and joys. Dominic and Dante Ortiz Berardi's birth mother, Wendy, had surgery on Friday. She is recovering well, but certainly is in our hearts and on our minds, and the family appreciates your good thoughts and for her continued recovery. If you could use pastoral attention yourself or contact information for someone else, please speak to me or another member of the pastoral care team or email pastoralcareteam@ucdsm.org. Let us share together now the names of anyone we know who could use some special care and attention. You may call the name out loud or type it in the chat. As we share these names, may the love of the community hold them. May the light of our community shine on the broken places of the world. May we not look away when we are needed. May the grieving be comforted, the weary find rest, the broken places healed, and joy and laughter be abundant. We light 3 candles, one for the joys and sorrows shared aloud, one for those shared in writing, and one for those held silently among us. Thank you.
Join with me, if you would, in a mood of reflection, meditation, or prayer. Dear Spirit of love, deep mystery that makes us able to love and be loved, let us take in the love which surrounds us, which blesses us, which strengthens us, and send our hearts to where they are so needed. Our hearts go out to places in the world where extreme violence is a daily burden. Gaza and Israel, as a ceasefire was just rejected. May the path to a lasting peace be opened. And Ukraine, where Russia has increased airstrikes in the last few days. May the path to a lasting peace be opened. In Pakistan, where a bomb blast has killed dozens a day before voting that is marred by violence and claims of rigging. For global threads of connection, as the United States has before it a bill for aid to places of war. Sudan, where an internet outage comes on top of a 10-month civil war which has forced 9 million from their homes. May everyone feel the love of peace and the peace of love. Our hearts go out to our groaning earth and to ourselves as we groan along with Southern California, where heavy rains and landslides wreak devastation. Chile, where deadly forest fires have destroyed acres along the coastal region and left hundreds of people still missing. A pod of a dozen killer whales trapped by drift ice off Japan's northern island. Brazil's Amazon rainforest, the lungs of the planet experiencing its worst drought in half a century. May those grieving and rebuilding and working for climate justice be strengthened and fortified in their work. May each of us find creative courage to find it in our days and in our ways, to meaningfully support the work for peace and for justice. May we discern what love is asking of us, and may we step forth to engage it. As, for example, did Laweja O'Donoghue, one of Australia's most revered Aboriginal leaders who died at age 81, at 91 this week, after a life spent advocating for the health and rights of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. May we be emboldened by love, to let love flow through us, filling every barren place. And as we go thus emboldened, we go to heal what is broken, we go to confront what is cruel, and we go to delight in what is good. And for all that has been spoken, and for all that we are holding silently in our hearts today, we observe a minute of silence. Blessed be. Amen.
May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be filled. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole.
The idea that the universe is a vast moral mechanism, mechanically rewarding virtue and punishing vice, has often felt appealing. According to the mechanically moral universe theory, if virtue goes in, reward goes out. Wickedness in, punishment out. As if the universe were a great moral machine, a cosmic meritocracy. We humans have, throughout our history, and probably before, been very attracted to the idea that if something bad happens to us, we must have done something to deserve it. And if something good happens to us, we must have done something to deserve that too. Well, sometimes we have. Many times it's just dumb luck, good luck or bad. Wisdom from the Hebrew Bible has, for thousands of years, reminded readers that life is not all about getting what one deserves. First, from the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 9, verse 11. Again, I saw that under the sun, the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, nor bread to the wise, nor riches to the intelligent, nor favor to the skillful, but time and chance happen to them all. Second, the book of Job. Here is Michael Sandel's exposition. A just and righteous man, Job, is subjected to unspeakable pain and suffering, including the death of his sons and daughters in a storm. Ever faithful to God, Job cannot fathom why such suffering has been visited upon him. As Job mourns the loss of his family, his friends, if one can call them friends, insist that he must have committed some egregious sin, and they press Job to imagine what that sin might be. This is an early example of the tyranny of merit. Armed with the assumption that suffering signifies sin, Job's friends cruelly compound his pain by claiming that, in virtue of some transgression or other, Job must be to blame for the deaths of his sons and daughters. Although he knows he is innocent, Job shares his companions' theology of merit and so cries out to God, asking why he, a righteous man, is being made to suffer. When God finally speaks to Job, he rejects the cruel logic of blaming the victim. He does so by renouncing the meritocratic assumption that Job and his companions share. Not everything that happens is a reward or a punishment for human behavior, God proclaims from the whirlwind. Not all rain is for the sake of watering the crops of the righteous, nor is every drought for the sake of punishing the wicked. God confirms Job's righteousness, but chastises him for presuming to grasp the moral logic of God's rule. This represents a radical departure from the theology of merit. In renouncing the idea that he presides over a cosmic meritocracy, God asserts his unbounded power and teaches Job a lesson in humility. Faith in God means accepting the grandeur and the mystery of creation, not expecting God to dispense rewards and punishments based on what each person merits or deserves. We come now to our offering. Our Faith in Action partners, our free store, which helps provide household items to families recovering from domestic violence and other trauma, and the Iowa Trans Mutual Aid Fund, which supports trans and gender diverse Iowans as they access gender affirming care. We strive to accountably dismantle in ourselves and in our institutions racism and other oppressions. This is the work of building a diverse, multicultural, beloved community. This is our journey towards spiritual wholeness. We cannot do this by ourselves, and at the same time, no one can do it for us. It requires individual responsibility and collective action. and it requires our individual and collective time, talent, and treasure. Let there then be an offering to support this work, to empower our resolve, to embody our love, to shine the beacon of justice.
I submit to you that 2 words name a large part of the richness and goodness of life: grace and solidarity. Grace, the freely given, unmerited gifts you did not earn and do not deserve, cannot deserve, like being alive, like being more or less healthy, healthy enough and pain-free enough to be able to be here or listening online right now, like air and the feel of breath in your lungs, like sunlight and rain, trees, the beauty of the seasons, autumn leaves, winter snow, spring, summer. You didn't earn these things. You've done nothing to deserve them. They are free gifts, grace. You might not notice them, but a life of richness and depth is one that is constantly seeing grace everywhere, the beauty all around us. And second, solidarity. We are not just in it for ourselves. We're in this together. We're in it for each other. What else? Camaraderie, companionship, friendship, all the different ways we are in relationship, all the different forms that love takes. This is the goodness of life. If grace and solidarity name a large part of what makes life good, then it behooves us to attend to whatever undermines the place in our lives of grace and solidarity. These days, the growing overemphasis on merit, on deservingness, undermines the place in our lives of grace and solidarity. Merit, that would be ability plus hard work, or talent plus effort, or capability plus motivation, or other synonyms. We use merit as best we can assess it to determine who gets into the top schools and who gets the high-paying, high-status jobs. There's a lot of competition for school admissions and for jobs. Now, there will always be a place for competition. I am not going to stand here on Super Bowl Sunday and say that we should or ever could abolish competition. And we aren't going to abolish the rewards of victory. But the winners have been way over-rewarded, and the losers way over-deprived. And we need to lower the stakes for that part of life that is a meritocratic contest. We just need to lower the stakes of the merit contests, because as those stakes have been growing, they've been crowding out grace from our lives, crowding out solidarity. Last week, I talked about distributive justice, how since 1980, we've been distributing more and more of the wealth to fewer and fewer of the richer and richer, and that's unjust. A more just distribution, a greater income equality, is essential for social health, for our flourishing as a people. And today I want to add to the picture contributive justice, the justice of everyone being able to meaningfully contribute to our city, our state, our nation, our world. Contributive justice. Those who have been deemed not to have the merit to get into the good schools, or indeed those who maybe don't want to go to college, need jobs they can feel contribute to something more meaningful than a paycheck. Michael Sandel, writing in The Tyranny of Merit, says of the meritocratic ethic, among the winners, it generates hubris. Among the losers, humiliation and resentment. These moral sentiments are at the heart of the political uprising against elites. More than a protest against immigrants and outsourcing, the populist complaint is about the tyranny of merit, and the complaint is justified. The relentless emphasis on creating a fair meritocracy in which social positions reflect effort and talent has a corrosive effect on the way we interpret our success or the lack of it. The meritocratic ethic produces a smug conviction of those who land on top that they deserve their fate and that those on the bottom deserve theirs too. For those on the bottom, the meritocratic ethic means either frustration or humiliation and despair. Either they believe that the system fails to recognize their merit and denies them opportunities to use it, or perhaps worse, they accept that meritocratic sorting has been more or less fair and they just aren't good enough to have earned any better than they got. The grip of the meritocratic ethic has been growing through the World War II era. The word meritocracy was coined by the British sociologist Michael Young in his 1958 book, The Rise of the Meritocracy. Young described meritocracy as a dystopia. When he wrote in 1958, the British class system had been breaking down for some time. The old aristocracy had been giving way to a system of educational and professional advancement based on merit. And in many ways, this was a good thing. Gifted children of the working class could develop their talents and escape from a life of manual labor. But the old system at least had the weird advantage that everybody knew it was unfair. Neither the lords nor the working class believed they deserved their status, which tempered the arrogance of the upper class and precluded despair for the laborers. The working class knew their situation wasn't their fault. Michael Young wrote his book from an imagined position in the year 2033, projecting out 75 years, 3 generations into the future from 1958. That's how long he figured it would take for meritocracy to lead to a mass revolt. He wrote, describing things in the year 2033, Now that people are classified by ability, the gap between the classes has inevitably become wider. The upper classes are no longer weakened by self-doubt and self-criticism. Today, the eminent know that success is just reward for their own capacity, for their own efforts, and for their own undeniable achievement. They deserve to belong to a superior class. They know, too, that not only are they of higher caliber to start with, but that a first-class education has been built upon their native gifts. Meanwhile, the losers in the meritocracy are resentful at the arrogance of the winners, while also humiliated with the knowledge that they have no one to blame but themselves. Today, all persons, however humble, know they have had every chance. Are they not bound to recognize that they have an inferior status, not as in the past because they were denied opportunity, but because they are inferior? For the first time in human history, the inferior man has no ready buttress for his self-regard. End quote. Michael Young's tale from 1958 predicted that the less educated classes would then rise up in a populist revolt against meritocratic values. We can now say that the revolt that Young predicted came 17 years ahead of schedule. It came in 2016. When Britain voted for Brexit and America voted for Trump. While Democratic candidates and many Republicans were intoning that everybody ought to be able to go as far as their talent and hard work could take them, Trump never said that. His fans knew that the meritocratic game cast them as the losers, that their work no longer had much dignity or even afforded much of a living wage any longer. Their feelings of both humiliation and resentment proved potent. If the game being played on the field is one that inherently has winners and losers, then leveling the playing field does nothing to revitalize civic life, does nothing to foster a sense that we're in this together, does nothing to shore up solidarity. Indeed, the more level the playing field, the more the winners may feel justified in their arrogance and the greater the humiliation of the losers. Sandel brings us back to grace and solidarity. He writes, "A perfect meritocracy banishes all sense of gift or grace. It diminishes our capacity to see ourselves as sharing a common fate. It leaves little room for the solidarity that can arise when we reflect on the contingency of our talents and our fortunes. This is what makes merit a kind of tyranny or unjust rule. We'll always have some competitions. We'll want to make those playing fields level and fair, but when we make the levelness of the playing field the only concern, we forget that public life isn't entirely about the competition. It's also about recognizing that we're in this together. It's about standing as equals with each other as neighbors, engaged in the work of citizenship, whether we are legal citizens or not. It's not all about standing as competitors. And we'll pause there for our interlude. As meritocracy has grown increasingly emphasized, the greater our inequalities of income and wealth have grown. Or maybe it's the other way around. As inequality has shot up since 1980, we've responded by rationalizing it with an increasingly dominant rhetoric of merits. Either way, the rise of emphasis on merit and the rise of inequality correlate. Earlier, I mentioned contributive justice. Distributive justice is needed for fairer, fuller access to the fruits of economic growth and a reduction in inequality. Contributive justice is also needed, this opportunity to contribute meaningfully to others. It's contributive justice that fosters the sense that we're in this together. Human beings require the social recognition and esteem that goes with producing what others need and value. An adequate wage is part of that. It's hard to feel your society really values your work if they won't pay you much for it. But the point isn't just distributing income and wealth. It's that people should get a good income because they're doing work that really matters to other people. The distributive justice and the contributive justice need to go hand in hand. As Sandel writes, the fundamental human need is to be needed by those with whom we share a common life. The dignity of work consists in exercising our abilities to answer such needs. End quote. Robert F. Kennedy understood this. Campaigning in 1968, he said, fellowship, community, shared patriotism, these essential values of our civilization do not come from just buying and consuming goods together. They come from dignified employment at decent pay, the kind of employment that lets a man say to his community, to his family, to his country, and most important to himself, I helped build this country. I am a participant in its great public ventures. We don't hear politicians talking that way much anymore. Meritocracy puts competition at the center of public life instead of putting our shared civic enterprises at the center. Meritocracy also puts that competition at the center of our individual sense of who we are. Meritocracy defines us to each other and to ourselves by what we deserve, what we earn. It teaches us relative disregard for all the range of life that isn't or shouldn't be marketable. It may help to look more closely at the two factors that make up merit or deservingness. Talent, ability, natural gifts on the one hand, effort, hard work, and training on the other. First, let us ask, where did the talent come from? Some of it came from genes. That's luck. Some of it came from childhood experiences. But growing up in the right sort of environment to bring out a given ability is not something the individual made happen. That would also be luck. The other factor, effort, hard work, motivation, training. It isn't always possible to separate that from native talent, but whether you have the opportunities for training, have good coaches available, training facilities, have encouraging people around you, and an environment that yields enough reward for hard work early on so that it develops as a habit, that's all luck. There may also be a genetic component predisposing some people to focused work and delayed gratification. And if so, that would also be luck. If you're lucky enough to find yourself motivated and lucky enough to find yourself talented, then you will be said to have merit. The supposed distinction between unearned luck and earned deservingness collapses under scrutiny. And so merit is always a pretense. There are certain spheres of life where this pretense is necessary. When it's time to ask your boss for a raise, you go in and you make the case for how you deserve it. But later, when you're back home, in a moment of calm reflection, you can step back from your work life and you can view it in your spiritual and holistic capacity, and then you can appreciate that really there is no deserving. It's all grace. You just happened to have some skills, including the skill called motivation, and you just happen to live in a world with a market demand for your particular skills, and just happen to have the boss and the company that you do. All luck, all grace. Now, can you hold on to that spiritual truth even as you return again to the sphere of market and work? It's like the capacity to play a game, parcheesi or gin rummy or chess, while at the same time knowing that you're just playing a game. Or like the capacity to watch an engrossing movie while a part of you retains the consciousness that what you're looking at is just lights on a screen. In the case of games and movies, it's pretty easy. In the case of merit, it takes a special spiritual maturity to resist the tendency to convince ourselves that we somehow deserve our luck. As Max Weber observed back in 1915, the fortunate person is seldom satisfied with the fact of being fortunate. Beyond this, he needs to know that he has a right to his good fortune. He wants to be convinced that he deserves it, and above all, that he deserves it in comparison with others. He wishes to be allowed the belief that the less fortunate also merely experience their due. Good fortune thus wants to be legitimate fortune, end quote. To be able to hold before you unwaveringly the insight that your good fortune really is just good fortune, really is utterly undeserved. To never forget that for a moment, even when you're in the middle of an intense round of that game called demanding what you deserve, that's a difficult spiritual challenge. I regularly bring myself back to this awareness that it's all grace, that none of it is deserved or earned. But that bit about never forget for a moment is beyond me. I do regularly bring myself back to remembering, but that's because I do regularly forget. This might be your first glimpse of seeing through the illusion of merit, the first time it came to your notice that the distinction between deserving and lucky is illusory. And if so, I urge you to hold on to that. Don't let it slip away. Rest in that new way of seeing, and imagine what it might be like to live that way, with awareness that merit is a fiction, a game you are sometimes called upon to play, but which you recognize isn't real. If you imagine holding that awareness in your mind, what difference would it make to your life? Well, for one thing, if you're sharply aware that it's all luck, then you'll be less caught by surprise when the luck changes. Market shifts can make your particular skills no longer in demand. A sudden accident or disease can make your body no longer able to play the violin or hold a scalpel steady, or can make your mind less able to concentrate. In the vagaries of fortune, if you have thoroughly grasped that your success is not deserved, then you'll be prepared to see that your failure, when it comes, isn't deserved either. And something else. Not only do you not deserve your failure, but you'll more clearly see that other people don't deserve theirs. Under the meritocratic ethic, my success is my own doing, so other people's failure must be their fault. Meritocracy corrodes commonality. It traps me within the delusion that we aren't in the same boat. It says, I built my boat and you built your boat, so there's no particular reason I need to be concerned if yours is sinking. But if I see my situation as wholly an undeserved grace, then I can imagine a new and harsher grace that might put me in someone else's shoes. Ram Dass, after the stroke that left him wheelchair-bound, called it fierce grace. And if I can have that clarity, then my life turns in a different direction. It turns toward a different task. My task is not to outcompete others for the prizes of success and status, nor is it to facilitate my children in outcompeting others. My interest shifts to the prizes available only to the winners It shifts from the prizes available only to the winners to restoring the dignity of all work. There is a possible world in which everyone, whatever their talents and training, can meaningfully contribute their work to our shared public enterprise and meaningfully contribute their voice to democratic deliberation that forms that enterprise. It will be no easy thing to get there from here. It will take at best several generations to reverse the effects of the last several generations. Meanwhile, here in the microcosm of the congregation, we practice. Week in and week out, we embody a communal life without meritocracy, where we stand together on ground of equality, where everyone can meaningfully contribute to our shared enterprise, where we learn together an ever-deepening appreciation of grace and our inherent solidarity. Week in and week out, we are living and demonstrating to the world a better way. Let it be so. Amen.
Come and go with me to page 1018, sing our final hymn. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land that unknown. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. And there'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound. There'll be speaking in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm found, where I'm bound.
Or please join me in saying our unison chalice lighting words, which you will find in the order of service. May we live a life that is not in vain. May our works and deeds have meaning. May the path that our ancestors tread, that we follow and leave for others, lead to true equity and justice.
May you leave this place knowing that you are good and knowing that you are loved, knowing that you are surrounded by grace and solidarity. Go in peace.
Be ours a religion Go in peace.